Salam, peace unto all. On behalf of the Ansari Holistic Healing Institute, I would like to welcome each one of you to our first International Holistic Healing Online Symposium. And Alhamdulillah, we are reminded that all power belongs to Allah and all knowledge belongs to Allah. So with that, I'd like you to join me and we can make our connection. We are going to be reading the first chapter of the Quran, Al-Fatiha. Dastur and Madad, Ya Allah, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Imam Ali Waliullah, Ya Abdul Qadir Jilani, Ya Ahmad Rifai. Al-Fatiha. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. We have a very special guest today, and he is Dr. Frank Brazkiewicz. And Dr. Frank has studied medicine in the Medical University of Lübeck in Germany, and he has worked as a doctor in a withdrawal therapy rehab hospital, as well as studied Tai Chi, Qigong, and meditation techniques from different teachers and masters. As a student of traditional Chinese medicine, he acquired an acupuncture diploma and worked as an acupuncturist and founded a work group for doctors, students, and other people who were interested. His love for Chinese medicine finally led him to a general medicine practice, the emphasis of which was naturopathy and traditional Chinese medicine. Welcome, Dr. Frank. Thank you so much for wasting your time today.
Thank you, Rubina. Thank you for the invitation. It is a great pleasure. And I hope we can share some ideas about medicine.
Yes, traditional Chinese medicine. We're looking forward to it, Dr. Frank. Thank you.
So when I can start, then just let the first slide appear. So I think your technician will do the first slide, and I will talk a bit about Chinese medicine. Well, I would like to demystify traditional Chinese medicine a little bit, because it is a very old medicine which really has its roots 5,000 years ago, with one of the main important books in China, which called the I Ching. And here, the old wise men and women asked themselves, what can they see? What can we see? If we look into the heaven, if we look onto the earth, and everything what they can see was really, everything was changing. There's nothing really still. Even the stars always change their places. So they made the statement that the only thing they really could say it's true is that everything is in movement, is changing. So, and from this, the book appeared, I Ching, which really means the book of changes. So, and from this, really, all Chinese culture comes from, and also the Chinese medicine. And if we see Chinese medicine nowadays, maybe we need to use more our language to understand what these old wise really meant when they saw people with illnesses. And so I would go to the first slide, and I can do it myself. So what is Chinese medicine really? And we can see Chinese medicine is really regarded as a system of sensations and findings designed to evaluate the functional state of the patient, which means we see a patient, we see, or they tell us their sensations. We have like a red face or pain somewhere, tense muscle. We move a bit distorted, and everything we see, we evaluate the functional state of the patient. So the first thing we can say is, in comparison to Western medicine, because Western medicine really needs hard facts. So we have the blood pressure, we have an X-ray, we have an ultrasound, everything which is really on the material level. But for the functional level, we have not the words in Western medicine. But here Chinese medicine comes into place, because there we talk about a functional state. So if we talk about functions, actually we can be very technical here. So regulation is a technical process. And if you see here the water basin, yeah, so in the water basin, we have the thermostat and the electric heater, and we want a Shelby value from 37 degrees Celsius. So everybody knows that we never have really 37 degrees, because if we come like from 36, the electric heater is on and the energy in the system goes up and we reaches the Shelby value. And from here, then the heater stops, but the afterheat really makes the temperature in the water basin a little bit higher. And we have this curve here. So this vector goes up until it reaches a peak. And from this peak, really, then the temperature is reducing. So we have the peak of the energetic of this system, and it is reducing back to the Shelby value. And as we reach and go under the Shelby value, the system now, okay, now we have to switch on the electric heater, but we have latency. And this latency makes that the temperature in the water basin really drops to a special point where then the energy is again strong enough to lift the energy, the temperature in the basin, and so on. So actually what we have is a sinus curve. Yeah? If we go on, oops. So then we have a way now to describe regulatory process. And we call this regulatory phases. Yeah. And if we see the first phase here, actually, we build up energy. Yeah. It is a potential energy in the system, which is the first phase. And this is called in the Chinese terms wood. Yeah, like the forest full of trees, and this wood is really latent energy. It's this potential energy which is really waiting. And then if we reach the top, this energy goes into function. So here really the function is going to a goal. And this function phase is called fire in the Chinese terms. And then we have here the shall be value, so which is in every system. Yeah, every biological system has its own shall be value. And if we go upwards, then the energy is really reducing, it's dropping, it's going into a very deep state of energy. And here the Chinese call it metal. From this deepest point, then we have a regeneration of energy. And this regeneration they call water. So here we have this wood, fire, metal, water. As we know, it's a metaphoric meaning for regulation. So if we go to the next slide, we have here wood, fire, metal, water, and we have the sinus curve. And if you draw a circle around, you see the so-called Yin Yang or Fu Qi emblem. And it's nothing than a symbol for this regulatory meaning of Yin and Yang and the phases. So I will explain Yin and Yang because it's so mysterious in a very medical way. So we have two ways of explaining Yin and Yang. So firstly we can see Yin and Yang are polar, yeah, opposites. So they need each other. So if we see this is the shall be value, in this system, we could say everything above is in the yang. Everything below is in the yin. So in this sense, we would say, okay, the patient maybe is in the yang because he has a lot of plus symptoms. Or we could say the patient is in the yin because he has a lot of minus symptoms. And here we have wood, fire, metal, earth. And you already know there's one missing element, it's called the earth. And you see, okay, the earth itself seems a little bit different because the earth itself has more than one point where it is. It is the shall be value itself. So we could say in a human, the earth means our shall be value. It is the power who brings us back to ourself. Let's go to these phases or changing phases. So wood, fire, metal, and water. As we saw, it is a part of a circular process, of course. So in regulatory terms, or we could say it's a cybernetic technical term. So if we say the patient is in fire, we mean it in a technical way. In man, we could see these are vegetative functional tendencies. And the clinical manifestation of a face is an orb. We call it an orb. Let's go back to our sinus curve. So we have here wood, fire, metal, and water. And we have the shall be value at the earth principle. And we have 2 points here. This is, so this vector is most out of the normal. So we need a downwards action, or here an upwards action, an energy which brings us back to normal. Yeah. So this is the earth, the principle of regulation. It's either the downwards regulation or the upwards regulation, and it is the shall be value itself. We call this the earth or the center. And actually in man, it is behind the navel, because the human body behind the navel, it is really the center of the body. Oops. So if we turn this sinus curve, then we have the earth not here, but it's going into our face, you know, this direction. Then we see it is really a circular process. It starts with wood, yeah, and then we go up to fire, and it goes down to metal and to water. And the earth is always the center. So we could say, yeah, life is always circulating through the center, through our earth. And if you understand this regulatory process, you understand how important it is to have, to feel, and to nourish our own center. So we have this process, and we go. Oh.
So Dr. Frank, just to come to that point, Dr. Frank mentioned about nourishing the earth, the center. Can you just give us a few examples of how does one nourish the earth, the center?
Well, yeah, so to nourish the center is good food, not too much, and not, so you have to eat normal. You have to eat good food, which is nourishing and not is harmful. Yeah, like junk food or fast food. Yeah, you have to eat slowly. You have to be mindful. Yeah, strengthening the center. Breathing is very important. So you have to use your breath coming down into the region behind the navel. And let me go into this slide because it's very interesting. The pictures are from a very old book from Max and Moritz. So 2 boys who are very nasty. And in this book, we have very good special vegetative functions in our body, because vegetative functions, so our neurologic system, yeah, is the base of our behavior. Let's go here maybe to wood. So wood means we providing energetic potential. So, and if this is the primary in a body, then you see the people are very erected, strong, very energetic, going like an athlete. And you see it in the picture, and you see it in the patients. So because we talk about medicine, we talk about dysfunctional behavior. So here in wood, too much wood would be that the muscles are over strong, muscle tension, hypertonic things. Yeah. So everything goes too much outwards and upwards, like the red head, things like this. Yeah. And you see it very good in the picture. So here, if you would combine it with the earth, you must say, okay, if you go too much outwards, you must drain your energy back to the center. So away from your head, from the extremities, yeah, more into the belly region. If we go here to the fire, this is a transformation of potential into function. So function is, it's the muscles, it's not hypertone, but they are more mobile. You see the people have a strong mimic. Yeah, the movements are very good to see, and they're more happy, and they are in action. So if this is, so your function must go into your center, into a goal. Yeah, like you work, and your work has a goal. And if you reach the goal, great. But sometimes you're overexcited, so you're not concentrated enough. Your movements are not not concentrated. You have, like me in the moment, you have problems to articulate. So here, because you cannot bring the function into the center, into the goal, yeah, this would be the dysfunctional behavior. And we have here patterns of cognitive dysfunctions, as well as motoric dysfunctions like tremor or so. Yeah. And if we go from the fire into the metal, so here we go below the Shelby value. So before we were wood, and fire is above the Shelby value. So a lot of energy. But if we go to metal, we go below the Shelby value. We would say we are in the yin. And here really, if we are in the process of the energy is going down, we feel unhappy, a little bit depressed. We say mirror. It is a lack of energy. We have the tendency of crying. Yeah. You see the woman here, it's really, it's a sad feeling. Yeah. Or so this is actually, we can see it also in ourselves, because this circle of vegetative functions we have in the day. So in the morning, we wake up, and if we are healthy, we are full of energy. Yeah, we stretch, we become strong, and we want to do something. Yeah, then we go to work, and work is great, and we have a goal, and we go for it. Yeah, and then idealistic saying, yeah, idealistic. We come back like at 4 o'clock, and we are in our center here. And we would say, oh, great, everything is fine. Now a tea or a coffee. Oh, it's so good. And everybody knows this. If you then, after some minutes, we go into, yeah, so the energy goes down and we really feel the burden of the world. Yeah. And of course, then at the end of the day, you see we have to go to bed. Yeah, we have to regenerate. But you see, people sometimes are always in this vegetative pattern. Yeah, they cannot come out. This is especially in old age. So you feel stiff. You need more structure. You need warmth, and you see it in the picture very good. So this is really the vegetative functions, and it is the basic of specific behavior. So let's go. So then we said the clinical manifestation of such a pattern is an orb. And really, an orb is a circle of diagnostically relevant signs, like too much muscular hypertension, red face, things like that, the diagnostically relevant signs, which indicating the functional state of the corresponding body island. So actually it is from a German philosopher who was talking about emotional patterns and how we feel it in the body. So if we have, if we go back here, if we are here in this pattern, yeah, then we would say, if we really feel in our body, we say, okay, the liver region is really tensed in this moment. Yeah. If you are here over emotional, then you really feel the heart region. The body island is the heart regions of the fire. Yeah. If you are here, you see, especially here, the shoulders are forward. So the lungs are really weak and you feel a little pressure in the lungs. And of course, here he's rubbing the kidneys, because here you feel, if you're in this regeneration phase, you feel that your kidneys need warmth. You press your hands, the warm hands, into the kidneys. So this is meant with the corresponding body island. And the functional state of this body island corresponds with the functional state of its respective conjugate. So others said meridians. So where the acupoints are on, we call it conjugates, because there are lines on the body which, like points of the lung conjugate, the liver conjugate, and so on. And the energetic state of this conjugate really is related to the body island. And we can see this. And it is for us in Chinese medicine a way to diagnose. So we have now discussed what is an orb, so a circle of diagnostically relevant signs. And if we go, then we go to the first, what everybody knows about Chinese medicine, they call it the qi. Ah, qi, great, yeah, what is qi? So actually we are talking about function, about energy. So the concept of energy is the capacity to exert work, yeah? Work in the body is function capacity. It's a capacity to function. Really the energetic picture of man as a functional picture. And I, of course, this is a dead corpse, but it shows a little bit this movement, this function in the body. So when we talk in a way of seeing the body in Chinese medicine, we talk about energy. So energy, we call the energy qi. Yeah, qi. This is the qi. And qi is really breath and others. But this is nothing for a doctor to work with. So what is really qi? And we have from Heidelberg, so our definition, what is qi? Because if you look in the dictionary, Chinese dictionary, you can find, I would say, 400 translations of this word. Wow. Yeah, and this really makes no sense in a medical way to see it. Oops, here it's. So qi is comparable to the clinical effects primarily caused by the vegetative system. So our nervous system here is active. Yeah, and this action we can call qi. Yeah, we have this special definition from the Heidelberg model of Chinese medicine. So the vegetative capacity to function of a tissue or an organ which may cause the sensation of pressure, tearing, or flow. So like the kidneys, yeah, in Western medicine, we measure the creatinine level and see how good is the kidney working. Yeah, so we would say the function of this organ kidney, we call this capacity qi, the kidney qi, yeah, or the lung qi, and so on. And really, you could, if you have good insight in your body, feel this energy, if it's like too much as a pressure or a tearing or a flow in the body. And in Germany, we had a great professor for Chinese medicine called Professor Porkert, and he said, really, qi is an immaterial energy with a qualification and a direction. So a qualification means we have different kinds of energy, as we know. So what we can do, everybody, now together for 5 minutes, is stop eating, stop drinking, stop sleeping, and stop breathing. And then you know which energy is most important. So through breathing, we got this lung energy. Yeah. Through nutrition, we got this energy of spleen and stomach. Through sleeping, of course, we get energy, and so on. And actually, you never can have too much energy. That's not possible. Yeah. But what you can have, if you see it on a neurovegetative level, you can have too much base activity in body and conjugates, yeah, which we call repletio. It is overactive. And you see it like in a crampy muscle, yeah? A crampy muscle is overactive. So here you have a local area of repletio. It is not too much, but the flow is not good. On the other hand, you can have depletio. So, and I suppose we all know this, we really can have not enough energy. Yeah. So it's too little base activity in body and conjugates. So this is a first definition of qi, and it's much more to say about this, but this is really for a medical purpose to use this word qi. Then we have another thing which called xue. Xue is a Chinese word, and I cannot spell it right, but xue, it is really the microcirculation, it is the blood. So we can see xue as the clinical effects primarily caused by the humoral phase of the body. So the microcirculation and its effects in the body. And Pockart says a long time ago, he calls it moved substance, as the blood is. And here also we can have either the xue is in the yang, so over the shall be value, or we can have the xue in the yin, which is below the shall be value. And we call this too much is kalor. Yeah, it's too much activation of blood and its effects. And we have it in inflammations. Yeah, it is red, it is hot, it makes swellings, it is painful. Yeah, this is kalor. And if you have longo kalor, this also makes effects in the central nervous system. So you get overactivated. So you're internally driven, nervous. The other way is algor. So it's too little activation of blood and its effects. So too little activation, of course, is if you're always cold, the skin is pale, and you feel the opposite of nervous is you feel a little bit, I don't know the English word of not motivated enough. So this is the effect of the xue. So, and I have problems with my mouse too. Yeah. So the functions of the xue really it's a little bit too much for the first thing, but just remember blood as a substance, yeah, has a lot of things to do in the body. So from the blood, really, qi comes. So the parenchyma activation in the tissue is done by the xue, yeah? And blood is moving, so it's moving substance. If we have a lack of xue, we feel tired. This is, I think, everybody knows this. The second thing, which we all know from blood is warming, yeah? So it's really good microcirculation makes us warm. So that's a yang function. But also the yin function is blood is hydrating the tissue, yeah? So it's moistening the tissue. If we have dry tissue in the lung, then we have dry cough. Yeah, very clear. Then there is a special energy, which I will come later to. They call it the Shen. So Shen is the effect of the inner controlling of really the mind, if you want. And the Chinese say, this is housing in the blood. So the Shen is a substance which really makes us aware. And if we have a lack of xue, and like women who have too much bleeding and have anemia, they know this, then they have also disturbance of mental associative order. Yeah, then they're a little bit out of role. Then we have the effect of the blood, we call it the lytic activity. So if there are blood clots, really the normal blood really cause the flow, and it will release the clots. On the other hand, in the blood really will neutrify and let grow the tissues and organs. And if there are problems of it, we can have cancer or other local disarrangements of this kind of qi. And we have blood is really building active fluids. So our sweat, especially, yeah, or the saliva, yeah, from the Chinese view, it comes really from the blood. So, and there are passive fluids. So the interstitial fluids or the fluids in the cell itself also comes from the blood. So we see blood has a lot of stuff to do. And then we come to the yin. And now I have to apologize. We come to a second definition of yin and yang. So let me go to the first definition. We saw the sinus curve, and we saw if the function is over the shall be value, we said it is in the yang. Yes. If we are below the shall be value, it is in the yin. So this is a discussion about the function itself. But here, if we talk about yin, here we mean the body. And in this definition, yang overall is every function in the body. And yin here is comparable to the clinical effects primarily caused by the primary cell functions. We could say the tissue itself, the organs itself, is the yin. And the function which appears out of the yin is the yang. Yeah. So it's a little bit complicated, but really the Chinese talk about yin and yang and here and there. And then you said, wait, I cannot follow, because they change the levels of arguments. Yeah. So one is if I talk about the yang itself, so all the function like the temperature, then I could say if it's low temperature, like 35 degrees, then we could say this patient is in the yin. But if the temperature is 38 degrees, we could say the person is in the yang. But it's always talking about the yang itself. But if we talk about the yin here, then we mean the tissue itself. Good. Come back here. Right? And then it's an even deeper thing we call the Jing. And sorry, this is the cell, and this is the nucleus of the cell. You can see it. So really the Jing, it's an energy which we can see as the comparable to the clinical effects primarily caused by the nucleus of the cell. So it's really from the DNA. Yeah. So it's a primary qi from the DNA which really makes us alive. And this we call it qi originale, original qi. This is impaired by radiation and by chemotherapy. Yeah. And really there is nothing to rebuild the Jing itself. Other kinds of energy, other qi, we can rebuild through breathing, through eating, through sleeping, through rest, and so on. Yeah. But this Jing itself, it's something we cannot rebuild. That's why it's so important. Then we go to the Shen, and we have this Shen, it is housing in the blood, in the serum. So Shen is comparable to the clinical effects primarily caused by higher central nervous functions. So my brain is here included. Yeah. And here we have emotional balance, our control of associations, mental coherence, and the fine control of motor functions. So Shen is a very interesting energy, which is on the one hand coming from the universe and really makes everything alive. In man, it is really, if I'm full in my concentration, yeah, if I have fully control of my associations, my mental coherence, my fine motor skills, then I have a good Shen. Yeah, as when I drink alcohol, yeah, then my tongue is a little bit twisted, yeah, so I lose control of fine motor skills, so I lose Shen. Yeah, or if I'm deep asleep, then I'm not awake, so there is no Shen. Good. So just some explanation. So that means really the blood is nourishing the yin, as we saw. So the blood is nourishing the tissues and organs. The yin contains the jing. So the jing really is the nucleus of the cell. From the jing, from this DNA, really, the primary energy, the primary qi really comes. This is the energy. Without it, nothing goes. Yeah. If this jing is gone, we are dead. And this qi moves the xia. It drives the blood. This is the idea behind it. And it's a very rough idea here. So let's go. You have questions? Is it? I know it's a lot.
Yes, it's actually very interesting. As we're going along, and I'm thinking, I said the whole concept of Chinese medicine and how you're bringing it forth out is there's so many aspects that obviously Western medicine, I don't know, it's not, in a sense, it's not recognized in Western medicine. And I see you spent a lot of time in diagnostic, explaining the whole structure of how the person feels, how his emotions are, what are they, when you spoke about the wood and the water and all of that. So I find that very, very interesting in contrast to Western medicine, because with Western medicine, you spoke about the concrete material information that is required, the blood tests, the x-rays and all of that. With Chinese medicine, it seems like the body is the informational house and not an outside tool. Is that correct from what you've explained thus far?
Yes, so there, I always said we have with Western medicine one window for the truth, and with Chinese medicine we open another window for the truth. Yeah.
Yes, very well said. Thank you.
Yeah, one is more concentrating on the material aspect, and one is more concentrating on the functional aspect. So if we go more concrete, then we have these orbs, functional tendencies in the body, yeah, and we all know it's they call it the liver, the heart, the pericard, and so on. But it is not the organ, yeah. The organ is just a part of it. So, like the gallbladder, yeah. So some people say, okay, they removed my gallbladder, so I have no gallbladder. But gallbladder is a function. So, and they cannot remove the function. Yeah. So, like liver and gallbladder is in the phase wood. So provides the energy, brings up the energy. So, and liver means, yeah, you go, and we have a German saying, you catch the fish, yeah, you catch the fish. So you can go out and do your thing. Yeah, that's a good liver. Yeah, and gallbladder is you have to decide when to move forward and when to stop. Yeah.
So would the gallbladder be the decision-making part?
Yes, and like in the body, it is like if you want to go for urination, yeah, you make the decision to open the sphincter.
Okay.
And this opening and closing is a gallbladder function. Wow. So if you have problems with opening or closing, it's like too tight, yeah, then you have a gallbladder problem. So, I think liver and gallbladder is good because this energy for life, yeah, the wood, yeah, go, come on. Yeah. And we always try to educate our children very good, yeah, a nice behavior, yeah, especially in Germany. Yeah. And at the end, yeah, you have a suppressed gallbladder, yeah, and the emotion behind is anger. So anger is aggression actually. The Latin is aggredi. Aggredi means to move forward. This is positive. You need aggression to move forward. You don't need it to destroy. Yeah. So if you suppress aggression because you think it's a negative thing, then you have suppressed aggression, suppressed anger. Yeah. And then you get gallbladder signs like ischialgia, headache, and so on. So, and I could go through all of these orbs, but I think for today it's too much.
Yes, this beautiful explanation. I also love how you've put together the emotion with the particular organ, which also I find very interesting. As you said, Chinese medicine has a different window in approaching the body. So I love that the emotional part is also looked at.
Good, and let's go to the next. Okay, actually, this is hard. So we went through this, the qi, which is replizo deplizo, so fullness, which is not correct because we cannot have fullness of energy. It's stuck energy or emptiness. Signs of neurovegetative origin. Then microcirculation, the Shen, we can have heat or cold, Carlo and Algor. And then, which I did not explain because it's too much, we have also extima, intima, so exterior and interior signs, which is really a very good explanation of the immunological state of a patient. So every infection is since 2000 years very clear explained in Chinese medicine. Yeah, with corona or whatever, you can see, diagnose and treat it very good. And then we talk about the yin, so the structure, versus the yang, the regulation. So we call it overall the 4 guiding criteria. It's a snapshot of the actual functional state of the body. We have here in Chinese medicine also a diagnosis of the constitution of a patient. So what is the patient's inner nature?
And
Yeah.
I think that we're probably going to have to invite Dr. Frank to give us another talk for that, because we have 5 minutes left for our interview.
Yeah. So we have here the pathogen factor. I didn't talk about this. There are pathogenic factors who causes illnesses. This is another lecture actually. and we just had a little bit of the orbs, so liver, the heart, the stomach, and so on. So altogether are these, altogether is the diagnosis of traditional Chinese medicine. So this is hard stuff. So go into the diagnosis, how to do it. So first is always inspection. So a patient comes in and actually I see what the problem is, because I see how they walk, how they hold their body. Of course, I hear the voice. Yeah, you can, let me give an example. So if I'm speaking like this, you know, the functional state is different to, oh, hello, Herr Doctor. Yeah, so there are differences. So inspection, of course, then the pulse is very important, especially for pharmacotherapy. The tongue diagnose. It's also a whole lecture for a day about how to read the tongue. Yeah, here you can see it's a heart person with liver problems, and you also talk with the patient and ask what are the problems, of course. Otherwise, they feel not comfortable. How to treat? Genau. So first, internal therapy is Chinese pharmacotherapy with herbs, but also animal products, minerals. And in the earlier days, a lot of doctors died because they try out everything on their own before they use it with their patients. And I suppose this would be also very good nowadays. So pharmacotherapy is very important. Then we have the most common thing is acupuncture, outer therapy with needles, but also with cupping, so with sucking, or with moxibustion, with this heating special points or areas of the body. And the third here is Qigong, so movement therapy, which was very common in China. You can do so much good if you know how to move the body right. And the last here is Tuina, Chinese massage techniques. And my wife is a Tuina therapist and osteopath. And she said that very similar techniques, also very new fascia technique. Yeah, she said 80% of fascia techniques is Tuina. Wow. Yeah. It's very common. What is not really taught is astrological things, because this is out of the Western way of thinking, and Feng Shui, so how to understand the energies around you. So this is not really part of it. So this is in this short time what I could say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Frank. It's been a really, really pleasure to have you, and thank you for your detailed explanation of traditional Chinese medicine. I think we had a very good basic understanding, and obviously people who have this kind of appetite to work towards this, at least they have an introduction, and maybe they can work towards it and pursue a career in traditional Chinese medicine. Or for those of us who are interested in visiting a practitioner and going for healing in this modality would also be something maybe that we would also consider. We'd really like to thank you for coming today and sharing your knowledge with us, and we hope to see you in our following symposiums, God willing.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, and I'm sure that was a bit mind-blowing and a bit, I think, a challenge to the brain, but Nevertheless, I think it was absolutely beautiful for those of us who are really interested in looking into traditional Chinese medicine, looking at even doing or consulting with a traditional Chinese practitioner. So we can look at healing from a different window, as Dr. Frank has shared with us. We'd like to thank the Almighty for allowing us this opportunity to be able to have this knowledge shared with us. And we thank you again, viewers, for taking time and joining us today. With that, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all.
Would you like to learn how to connect with Allah through His beautiful names? Would you like to learn how to heal using natural remedies and modalities? Would you like to cleanse yourself from any negativity, black magic and nazar? If you answered yes to these questions, then the Ansari Holistic Beginners Healing course is for you. Empower yourself to healing. Add this knowledge to your current practice or let it be a new beginning of hope for you. WhatsApp +27 82357 8666.